Welcome back to Left in the Dark. I'm Q, and this is week 3 of Trump's presidential rewind.
I'm working on fine.
MEX.
Somebody said, well, what would you do? What can you do? So easy. I drop a 25% tax on China. And you know, I said to somebody that is really the messenger. The messenger is important. I could have one man say, we're going to tax you 25%. And I could say another, listen, you motherfuckers, we're going to tax you 25%. You said the same exact thing. You said the same exact thing, but it's a different messenger.
If you're new to my channel, I'm documenting the Trump administration's accomplishments each week, along with other political commentary. If you want to stay up to date and make the best informed voting decisions, then I got you covered. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube and follow me on Facebook and X for real-time updates. Now let's get into this week's news. To kick off this week's rewind, we've seen nothing less than the utter exposure of the deep state's funding source, including tens of thousands of non-governmental organizations, along with some well-known federal agencies such as USAID and the Department of Education. So as it turns out, the deep state has been laundering your tax money for at least 6 decades. Trump and Doge uncovered the fact that agencies like the CIA and the Pentagon have at least stolen trillions to fund globalist, socialist, and corrupt agendas. Both Democrat and Republican politicians have been complicit in the corruption. And so how did they cover it up, you ask? Presidents before Trump knew about it and either didn't do anything or got assassinated. Money was funneled back into political campaigns ensuring corrupt officials stayed in power, and the mainstream media gaslit the public into believing Trump was the villain while covering up deep state crimes. Media networks like CNN, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, Politico, etc., yeah, the usual suspects, turns out this whole time they were propped up with these funds. Government spending has been secretly financing mainstream media lies, and USAID and other agencies have funded the deception of the American people. Federal spending audits by Doge have uncovered only 5% of this corruption so far. So yeah, you can bet your sweet bippy there's more coming down the pike. Trump has been steadily exposing everything directly to the American people, offering buyouts to the CIA and other agency employees to clean house. He revoked the security clearances from deep state figures including James Clapper, Victoria Nuland, Lisa Monaco, Letitia James, Alvin Bragg. Deep state actors are panicking and fighting back through legal and political channels. Trump and his administration were sued for auditing the U.S. Treasury. An Obama-appointed judge ruled against Trump in a secret ex parte hearing where he wasn't allowed to defend himself. Thus, it ended in a ruling to where basically he told Trump and the newly appointed Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, that not only could they not audit the Treasury, but anything that they found up until this point, they had to destroy. Yeah, a federal judge declaring that Trump, the President of the United States, has to destroy evidence. You can't make this shit up. This is nothing short of a complete vindication of everybody who's been sounding the alarm on this, including myself. I made an entire documentary detailing the plights of the now thoroughly exposed deep state, and you can check that out. I'll leave a link to that in the description so you can watch it for yourself and see for yourself the kind of corruption that I've been talking about for years now. I had no idea that it was this deeply entrenched, but it makes sense seeming they've gotten away with it now for 60 years. Can someone please enlighten me as to why Alvin Bragg and Letitia James, a couple of radical state attorney general and prosecutors, have national security clearances, top secret security clearances? What is the point of them having that? And what need do they have to have access to information that could undermine a presidency? This is blatant and utter corruption, and it's nice that it's being exposed now, but Democrat or Republican, it should just piss everybody off. If state attorney generals and state prosecutors that are obviously politically biased have access to this type of sensitive information, then what else do they have access to? This is probably not just a problem in New York. This is a problem that is probably nationwide. And if that's the case, then I don't see how anybody ever gets anything done. And that's exactly why nobody ever gets anything done. But now that we know, the Democrats are panicking and trying to backtrack on everything and trying to play the victim, like Trump's trying to undermine the Constitution. They keep referring to it as a constitutional crisis. The only constitutional crisis is state and local judges being able to override the presidency and directly go against executive orders made by the President of the United United States. Just because this is Trump, that has nothing to do with it. If you were to put Biden in the same situation, regardless of whether or not you agree with his policies or not, if state and local judges are able to impede investigations into immense fraud and corruption on behalf of your federal politicians, I don't even know how the US has survived this long. There is obviously an internal war between the Trump administration and the deep state, and it's playing out right in front of your eyes. The deep state has relied on unelected bureaucrats and judicial activists to maintain power for so long that it's just ingrained in all of our minds that it's normal. But it's not. The only way they stayed in control was by keeping Americans in the dark, by funding propaganda media and keeping it all from us. Trump has just finally pulled back the curtain and said, fuck it, making it impossible for them to continue unchecked. At this point, the exposure of the deep state on behalf of Donald Trump's administration is absolutely historic, and it's irreversible at this point. You can't put this genie back in the bottle. The Democrats are finally crumbling. They're sitting somewhere around a 31% approval rating right now, meaning that only 3 out of 10 Americans actually align with their values and their platform, which I don't even think it's that high, and then 2 out of every 10 men, if you can even call them that. Trump's America First movement is unstoppable at this point, and a victory in 2028 in all 3 branches of government is pretty likely. I don't see how the deep state survives this, but I guess we'll see. They're still trying to slow walk his nominations. Tulsi Gabbard just finally got confirmed today. They keep dragging out these nominations and pushing bureaucracy and paper pushing to try and slow these confirmations down, but it's not working. Every single one the Republicans are pushing through, which is actually surprising. I think that at this point, they just don't want to side with the side that's about to go to prison and be charged with high crimes. Because this corruption, while it includes both sides of the political spectrum, it's mainly and largely Democrats. I mean, what do you expect? But it's very important for all of us to just stay vigilant, spread awareness, and prepare for the battle ahead, because it's going to get crazy. Moving on to some better news, Trump signed some executive orders and congressional bills into law this week, most notably one declaring an end to the gender insanity within the world of female sports. Women will no longer be subjected to mentally deranged men with their dicks out in their locker rooms. No more will these women have to be subjected to men spiking volleyballs so goddamn hard that they receive concussions. And no more will you have to worry about your precious daughters having to be stripped of their promising futures and opportunities as these mentally ill behemoths dominate their records by ridiculous margins. Normalcy has seemingly finally returned to the world of sports. Men compete against men, women compete against women. The fact that we even reached a point where this needed to be declared is just depressing. Moving on. Trump met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu this week and unveiled his plan to seize the Gaza Strip and turn it into something other than an anti-Semitic Jew-hating terrorist haven. I still don't know how I feel about this though, as much as I just think that this was for shock value and isn't a serious proposition, but if it is though, I don't see the vision and how it would benefit us as American citizens yet. If Trump is going to acquire new territory, I'm fully on board. I just think it's more beneficial for us to focus on land on our hemisphere and not on the other side of the world. Just my 2 cents, but we'll see how this goes. Last week, both Canada and Mexico decided that they're going to comply with our demands. Both countries agreed to provide 10,000 border soldiers each to monitor the border and to declare Mexican cartels as terrorist organizations. Mexico started off by making good on this promise by arresting a cartel leader and seizing 4 tons, yes, 4 tons of meth destined for the U.S. through the California southern border within hours of agreeing to our terms. I just have to say though, none of us should trust Mexico. The Mexican cartel systematically assassinated 37 presidential candidates to install Claudia Sheinbaum as their president because they knew that she would continue allowing them to operate unimpeded at the southern border. My guess is it will be a matter of time before she returns to this modus operandi and is only buying her criminal organization buddies time to ready up against U.S. forces south of the border. They're already threatening our military with the use of weaponized drones and other forms of aerial warfare that they receive from, yeah, you guessed it, Middle Eastern terrorist organizations in China. Regardless of what Mexico's communist leader says or does, Trump and his SecDef, Pete Hegseth, should annihilate these motherfuckers quick and liberate the citizens of Mexico. There is no benefit to us or the rest of the world allowing these criminal enterprises to exist at all, when we have the capability of wiping them out in short order. It's like allowing a hornet's nest to remain above your front door walkway to sting you every time you walk outside, when instead you could just hit them with a can of Raid. These people think they're tough for murdering women and children and destroying the lives of innocent people all over the world. These guys aren't tough. They exist solely off of committing heinous crimes, intimidation through acts of violence, such as beheading, skinning people alive, and riddling folks full of bullet holes. And it's high time that we show them that they're just a bunch of sick, sadistic cowards. They could literally murder me right now for the things that I am saying, but it wouldn't matter. It would only be proving my point and wouldn't stop the US military from completely obliterating them. There's literally no point because these people are scumbags and literally worship death the same way Muslim terrorists do on the other side of the world. So screw them, and Trump should wipe them out. By my estimations, he will, but the faster that he does it, the better off this half of the world is and the safer the American population is. Canada's disgraced prime minister agreed to our tariff prevention terms, but that doesn't matter. Trump is still going to absorb their their economy and either acquire them during the course of his term or set JD Vance up to take them over down the line. It's inevitable at this point. Canada is not a viable country without massive subsidies by the US government. That was made even more apparent when after they got wind that Trump had exposed USAID for sending out billions of dollars worldwide to fund globalist bullshit, Canada wiped their entire USAID database clean. I don't think that they understand though that it doesn't matter. That shit is still available somewhere, and the fact that they did that just shows how much more money they were stealing from the US, in addition to the hundreds of billions of dollars in subsidies that they were already receiving through backdoor sweetheart deals by all of our previous weak-ass presidents. Whether Canada likes it or not, their sovereignty is already gone, and it's better for the US to acquire them instead of allowing them to land in bed with China. Hence why Trump has been outspoken about this even since before the inauguration. He's putting these Marxist countries on notice that if they're going to sell out, they're going to sell out to America or nobody, period. So in closing, as more of this corruption is exposed, expect the opposition to escalate. This is a battle that is no longer political. It's a battle between good and evil. Whether the politicians in our federal government are going to continue to be allowed to be able to steal our taxpayer money, launder it, and then pocket it and embezzle it, or if they're going to be strung up on charges of high crime and treason, because that's exactly what all of this means. But it's safe to say that whatever happens over the course of the next 4 years is truly going to determine the future of America. If you liked this video and enjoyed what you saw, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, liking, commenting, and sharing this video. I know that I was late on this one. I've had a lot of personal issues, haven't been feeling the best, and have been trying to figure out how I can get faster at editing these videos and producing the highest quality content that I'm capable of. I'd like to grow somewhere between 100 and 500 subscribers before the end of the year, and it really does mean the world to me when people like, share, and comment on my videos. But I hope that you got what you needed out of this presidential rewind, and we'll see you next week.
And yet you have people like John Kerry worrying about the climate, the climate. Oh, I heard that the other day. Here we are, guys, threatening us. He's worried about the ocean will rise 1/100% over the next 300 fucking years.